Welcome to another episode of The Shape Up, brought to you by Wags Hair. Over 130 years worth of experience. Please let Wags Hair groom you.
Hey,
Okay.
I like that.
You like that? Yeah, I made it up myself.
Right.
So, with that being said, hey, here we are again. Got a few new members on the board, some familiar faces, though. Well, to my far right, we have Miss Tasha. Hey, Tasha.
How you doing?
To the left of me is Miss Sharice.
Hello.
Say hello, Sharice.
Hello.
Okay. Janae
What's
is here
up?
on
Hey.
International Women's Day. She didn't make me say that, but she reminded me that that's what today is. So I want to give shouts out again for International Women's Day. We appreciate you women. We really do.
Definitely.
Okay. Besides Janae, I have Carl Ford, Jr.
Junior.
And I have Mr. Dewan right at the end. All right. So we're back. New day, new topics. What y'all want to talk about? Carl, you just got off a plane, man. Where you coming from?
Charlotte, man, it was
So what's going on in Charlotte, North Carolina?
amazing. Charlotte is the banking capital of the South. I don't know. I'm not sure if a lot of people know that. So most of the big banks that are in New York, in addition to the old money banks that are in the South, Charlotte is insane. Charlotte is the next New York City. I know as crazy as it sounds, but the infrastructure where they're connecting now, they've got an American Airlines hub there. I'm in Italy most of the year now. It goes now Bologna goes directly to Charlotte.
Get out. For real?
Yes, it cuts off my times. I'm only an hour from Bologna instead of having to go 2.5, 3 hours north to Milan or 4 hours south to go to Rome in order to fly back to the States. I can fly to Bologna. All right. So infrastructure.
That is. I didn't know that.
Infrastructure. It's incredible what they've got going on. Down there, and I wish that the city here. I wish they could get their act together. Because everyone talks about Louisville doesn't have this, Louisville doesn't have that. Louisville has the #1 basketball team in the United States.
Whoop, whoop.
Louisville is one of the few places where you have the UPS world headquarters is here.
Yes.
So
Johnson
sometimes
and
it's hard for
Johnson
people to
vaccination,
conceptualize that. With the UPS global headquarters here, you can get fresh fish from Japan tomorrow morning, fresher than what they get in New York.
Wow.
You can get things directly from India or China. It comes in directly, and as long as it clears customs, they don't even have to put it on the truck. You just go pick it up. Papa John's, you have Yum Brands, which is a multinational corporation. I'm in Belgrade or I'm in somewhere, some random country. They got Pizza Hut. Everything's
I think
there.
what sets some of the cities off, though, it seems like it's those professional teams. I've been to Charlotte. Charlotte's a very beautiful city. And I actually went there to see, it was a few years back when Cam Newton was playing quarterback for him. And Dak Prescott, my beloved Cowboys, was quarterback at my team, and rode up there to see the opening season game. First time there, it was a beautiful city, chocolate city. I'm into Walmart and stuff, man. It was real comforting just to see. Not like we don't have black Walmarts here, but the Walmart is just the atmosphere. People seem more. First of all, in the suburbs where the Walmart was at,
right,
where you would think it would be a predominantly white neighborhood, but it was predominantly black area, and the population just seemed to be thriving. Just the eye test.
Yeah.
And I've known people that have left here and taken on jobs in Charlotte, and I've heard a lot of good things. But it started with those sporting teams, those sports teams. When you have the Bobcats. Basketball team, and you have the football team, the Panthers, and different sporting teams like that.
Yeah,
that puts black millionaires or even just young millionaires in your city.
Right.
You have to entertain these millionaires. They like certain cars. They like certain jewelry. Those jewelry stores, those car lots start coming in town. The higher end clothing lines starts popping up because now you have, people coming to see these teams.
Right.
You have these people living here.
Upper middle class black
and
people.
You want to make these players happy
Right.
and re-sign when it's time to sign a dotted line again.
Right.
So, when we talk about getting a team here, I mean, I'm really, really for it. Yeah, we have a lot of things here. We are a college town, and there's nothing wrong with that because there's a lot of money in college sports here too. If you did go down there and look at the U of L's campus, that'll let you know that there's, that they're getting a check. But at the same time, that's really a lot of support from just right here in Louisville. So, like, if we build a basketball team, an NBA team or NFL team or something like that, we're probably close to an NBA team. Right. Now you have interest from, Indiana, Ohio, as well as Kentucky, Tennessee. You have all those people coming in to cheer on their local team as well.
So I think I can completely agree with you. I think I think one of my frustrations with how we do city planning or urban planning, if that's what you will, is that what we do is we spend so much time on sports that we don't really realize what you could do is turn Louisville into a technology hub. Because yes, Charlotte Hornets brings in money, but Charlotte Hornets pales in comparison if you started a Twitter here, if you started a Facebook here. If you started something, so what I'm saying is that if you gave the community of kids the ability to think outside the box, if you create an environment where they're allowed to take technology and apply it into their everyday lives, there's no reason why those types of companies can't start here. And that's far exceeding way more than a basketball job, because as a basketball owner, you're still an employee, but as a .com person, you're the business owner.
Well, that's true. I was just talking about in regards to have those cities. It seems like that was the common, in a lot of those major cities, thriving cities.
What's made them progressive? Especially in terms of how we're able to see it, because we know that a lot of African Americans are involved in the sports. So where does that bring the money?
I wouldn't have got to Charlotte if it wasn't for sports.
But we know
to see what was going on.
There's probably some politics involved with why we often hear about teams coming here, and then we never hear the end of it. We know that this is really big on horse betting and horse racing, which has kind of dominated that area of gambling and gaming.
State.
Outside
with
of that,
horses and
they do
basketball
really bring a lot of emphasis to their college basketball teams, and it's always a political action not to take away concentration from that. Meaning that if the NBA team does that draw in new fans that hold season tickets? So do they take away their season tickets from U of L, and do they take away their season tickets from the University of Kentucky to attend more attractive NBA games? And that's some of the challenges of that control that we don't have, because the state won't own the NBA, but the state owns its schools and the university teams. So even to know that as much money as the University of Louisville draws out athletics, it's strange to see how that money filters down and where that money lands, because we know it doesn't go back to the team players or their families.
And I'm interested in the fact that if you have an NBA team here, that means now you got to cultivate Black millionaires. Like, that's something that this city don't have a whole lot of.
And our state is Mitch McConnell, who runs the government of the United States. I just want to say that. So it's no accident that Kentucky has so much opportunity and it's not happening. I just wanted to throw that out there.
But I got a question too. Atlanta has the Bulldogs. They also got Georgia Tech. They got the Falcons. They got the NBA, the Hawks. So and they have all these other big
Braves,
companies coming there.
CNN and all those.
So what makes them different from us?
Delta Hub.
Well, I don't know what happens first. First of all, they have the busiest airport in the world, all of
Delta
the world.
A true international airport.
Delta Hub.
A true international airport.
Right.
So a lot of flights are leaving in and taking off from there. You go to Atlanta to get to anywhere, basically. So there's a lot of people coming in internationally and everything from there. So
we could do this, but I'm saying we could do the same thing too, because now we have a lot of the major companies coming here Atlanta for business.
I remember growing up,
and Atlanta
was not the city that it is today.
Right.
It was not that city. Atlanta was just a regular southern city in Georgia that we just thought was a slow southern city. My first memory of Atlanta, Georgia, is when the serial killer killed all those black kids down there, and everybody walked around with the orange shirts on with all the little faces. I'm telling my age right there, but they had every little head, every little picture of every person. He killed like 30-something people. And he was a black dude.
What was the name?
Atlanta child murder.
Yeah, the Atlanta
Yes,
child
I
murder.
remember
And this
that.
happened in the 80s, man, in the early 80s. And that was a big thing because it went on for a while and they couldn't catch him. And then to find out he was black, are you serious? You know what I'm saying? It was just unheard of. So that's my first memory of Atlanta. It was before, the rappers and the music, and it became cool to go down there, and it became the hair capital. I'm trying to figure out what happened. What happened first?
Some of our HBCUs, or some of our HBCUs have died. We know that there are still cores like Howard, who have brought and attracted many affluent African Americans still to DC. And then you also have in Atlanta like Clark, as well as Spelman.
Yeah, Morehouse.
The Morehouse. These are attracting affluent blacks who are staying. So you look even at your Nashville and wonder how I'm able to go to Nashville and have a progressive black time over Louisville, where you think about your Fisk and your TSUs and your Vanderbilts and colleges. Not just that's part of it. Again, though, we know that these people have opened up businesses and practices. So you have a more affluent doctors that come out of Meharry Medical College. So a lot of that is the influence that I think we've driven away from Kentucky. When you do research, which I love to do, we talk about Simmons Bible College, which has been re-educated and back. When you look years ago, that's where all your people came from the South to attend school. And they produced, again, a working class of African Americans that we just don't see now.
Okay. Well, I would agree that
Back to basketball,
HBCUs
what broke
does
down,
have a lot.
we look at those things that Brown versus Board of Education and think, how did we win? How did we lose? Well, that closed our schools.
So
That's how we lost.
So I think one of the interesting pieces of that, especially being from the Carolinas and being from Virgin Islands, in the Carolinas, black folks always. What's the right way to put it? Black folks always, we looked at each other not as each other's enemies. We were all in the struggle together. And I find that when I come to Louisville, I've always been more like egalitarian, if that makes sense. So when I look at another brother or sister come in, I'm always willing to share my ideas and an exchange of ideas. It's just how I go. And I don't stop that based on someone, based on their experiences. But I will say, even as cold as New York is, I can go to New York and don't have a dime, but may just have an idea on a business, and blacks are more likely to all come together and help each other, as opposed to here in Louisville, where it doesn't. I'm not saying that it couldn't be like that, but it's just been my experience here that we that instead of trying to come together to build something together, you are on your side, and then everybody just floats around in their own circles instead of kind of coming together to build something else.
I even think about the black church experience, and one of the things I'm amazed by is so many black churches. When churches were open, you could go to the West End on one block and go to 5 different. See 5 different worship.
That's true.
And be sold out.
Again, we go back to who we were as people and know that the pride that we took, even outside of that, I would value even talking that the black experience is most experienced. The power, the position is often experienced at the church, and it's not experienced in a lot of places. So you talk about a true black experiences. A lot of that, what our community knows, is from that experience. But when it's so divided, you just begin to wonder how and why and how did we get that way? Because typically you have probably more black churches than you could really fill them up with black
divided,
people
period.
here in Louisville.
And then I just feel like there's a huge disconnect between like my generation and church. Like I go to church for funerals and weddings. That's about it. I mean, yeah, funerals and weddings is the only time I step in. And I find it fascinating that when politicians want to talk to educated millennials or educated,
they
they go to church. And I'm like, that's not where I go. So you're not really talking to me or any of my friends. It's not the best place to reach us.
But they might get influenced grandma still.
Yes, of course. But that's also treating us with, but that's also painting us with one big swath brush. Mm-hmm. And so, they say, we'll just put some hot sauce in your purse and talk about, reparations and these other things. I'm like, well, we're a little bit more
complex.
We're a little bit more nuanced than that. And, all of it. And I think as I get older, I'm slowly starting to realize, like we are incredibly complex. Black people in New York are very different than black people in Louisiana, very different than black people in Los Angeles. And when you take everybody, you put everybody with that one brush stroke, you lose out on the ability for us to be able to be something better than just black. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. But
and it takes away from the black experience, I think, wholeheartedly. Because again, who can we connect to if we can't connect to ourselves?
Exactly.
I know that a lot of times people go into the churches to help build the economic development of the community. Now, I'm in ministry, I'll say that.
Yes, of course.
Okay, this is not against ministers, but the entrepreneurs is what builds businesses. But they don't do that. They'll go into the churches and let the churches try to delve out how to economically develop Black people in the community, and that's wrong. And they ignore all the Black entrepreneurs in the community, and they don't provide them with the resources to help us build our own communities. You know, they look at us differently. I don't even know if they even look at us as entrepreneurs.
You're not recognized as a.
But they don't want us to be entrepreneurs. They want us to go work a 9 to 5.
Well, we spend the most money, so why would they want us to be on the other side of that? Exactly. If we spend the most money, then what would we do? We talk about how long a dollar lasts in the Black community, and we all know the story behind chasing that dollar is that it leaves faster than it comes. My family is always amazed when they come here and they see places that says the city's best fried chicken, because we know the history, particularly on fried chicken, is that even we talk about Colonel Sanders is believed that was derived from African-American recipe. All that to say is people claim what they want to claim. And sometimes I think that we don't take the time to claim the things that we should, like our community. We've watched people, imagine me just mesmerized by Madam C.J. Walker and how she lived by Rockefeller. And not that money made the difference, but that her drive for success. And then here we are all the years later, and where do most African-American women typically buy their hair products or even their hair in a lot of cases. And we know it's not from Madam C.J. Walker or anyone that looks like her. Yes. So it's a piece that we simply have lost. And I think it's with a lot of divide is that everybody knows about the crabs in the bucket.
Right.
And I think that what you take pride in is that if we're in relationship, if I build you up, you're going to build me up. So instead of pulling you down, I'm constantly pushing you up, believing that if I'm pushing you up, at some point you can pull me higher. And I think that we've lost that. And again, you can't expect everyone to see that. Even working in a school system here that's large, I see that amongst African Americans. They could get into a place to where they're silenced and they're more apt to hire someone that looks a lot different than them because they're scared of what will be put on them when they hire someone like themselves.
I just wanted to
That's deep.
speak on your
deep today.
because you said community and feeling like that's lost. I'm not from Louisville. I'm actually from Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is like an hour from Atlanta.
Yeah, of course.
So I have experienced that culture that you were speaking of. Like I grew up in that. I was born in '87. So like seeing Atlanta, boom, we drive there all the time. I think Louisville has the capacity for that.
Yes.
But it just seems like that lack of community, just me on the outside looking in. I know I'm not from Louisville, so I don't want anybody to say an outsider. I know somebody said nobody from in the previous show. Someone said they don't think people who are not from west of the 9th should purchase property, and I'm like, because there are some people like me who I'm not from here, but I believe in building my community, and I say my as people Black and brown who look like me, and I think it's so important. I don't feel that we invest in our own communities. Louisville still buses here. You don't even have neighborhood schools here. They're sending kids all the way from the west, all the way to the east, and just 30-minute drive just to go to school. Parents have no idea who they're.
Balance it out
So I mean, it really lacks here, and it just seems like this is just personal opinion that people are conditioned to accept that here. Versus that should have already been a pushback. And I speak on schools because I believe education is the pillar for communities. So I think it really starts with taking back our communities here. Like that is absolutely unacceptable that is happening here. I just want to keep talking about
so real fast, just to have to build that assignment plan based upon where we live. That assignment plan is only because of Louisville and the way that you see that, and it echoes throughout the world, the country, is because this is one of the cities of its size where Black people still live in one place.
It's so behind.
Yes.
And then you begin to try to figure
strange.
out, okay, well then why the schools look like that? Well, part of that is that the property tax in that community pays for the schools. So if you have not had a collection of high property taxes, they're not going to pour money where it's not. So the way that you rebuild the schools is that the property taxes begin to influence that.
But can't we just, and I don't think a lot of people, especially people that don't have kids, I'm a bit disconnected from all of it now, from public school systems. But like it fascinates my mind that like we base our school system based on the property taxes in the area. Shouldn't it all just go into one?
You would
pool?
think it would make
And
sense.
what
And I
are
know
the,
that-
and what are the factors exactly, if you know them,
So
that affect property
it's the
tax.
same thing. I mean, so like, I mean, your property taxes, the reason why people want to live in like St. Matthews is because, you know, the schools over there are very good. They have smaller homes, but they have better schools, and the schools are free. And good schools are free. Rich people love to have free schools.
Free schools.
They love it. So if we take a step back and say, well, wait a second, let's make it where that your school gets based on your property taxes, and we redline everything, then the school on the other end isn't even remotely competing with the school on the other side that has lasers and laptops and good food. And then the school on this side in the United States of America in 2021 has, you know, the roof is leaking. And
But what's
yet,
lowering the property tax
crime
is, okay, thank you.
And
It's
what's
crime
behind
and the
crime?
value of the
Vacant
home,
homes.
right? Value of the
Vacant
home.
homes where
Vacant
no
homes.
one's paying
Vacant
taxes
homes.
on those homes because
Yeah.
they're vacant.
Yes. But but what do you think causes the crime?
That's
Sorry,
what
because I
I'm
feel
saying,
like
'cause
we're
I
about to
think-
jump. I feel like we're
because
going down this rabbit hole.
I mean, I'm not big on materialism.
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
so I don't think putting black millionaires in a city is going to change things. That's just my personal opinion, because I
Right.
think they're going to send their kids to private schools,
Right.
or tutors, and it's not going to change anything.
charters
That's
and
just
things
my
like
personal
that.
opinion. They
Right.
will shop with all the high ends, but it doesn't change.
They might
the
start
community.
businesses here, is what I'm saying.
Well,
They
and
might
I
start
don't
businesses
disagree
and
with
give
that, but I'm just saying,
opportunities
like, you
for
don't
other-
have a lot of LeBron Jameses in the NFL. You don't, I mean, in the NBA, you don't have a lot of people who are doing what he's doing. So I just don't personally feel like, I think we got to change our mindset in thinking that it is that's going to shift how we are. But to
I agree.
speak on the crime thing, I mean, why do people commit crime? People need money. If I'm struggling, then what am I going to do? Like, if I need food for my table, then I'm sorry, you know.
But
It's
isn't that kind of? I feel like it's kind of a cop out, because let's take a generation. Let's go a step back. So I'm from the Carolinas, so I'm from the generation of like people didn't have anything and made something out of no way. So if I can't afford. I may not have the money for the new Jordans, but I damn near better learn to be content with the shoes that I have.
But we will
on
live
my
in
foot.
materialistic society.
What I'm trying to say is that I'm not saying that I don't agree with you on that. What I'm saying is that we have to go back, and there has to be something. There is nothing wrong with being content with what you have. And so everyone's trying to live above their means because they've been following their lives on television. Our grandparents couldn't
Education.
afford it.
We're
day.
not taught
Yeah,
that.
but even educated people, educated. I
And
got
I'm
friends.
not talking about education from the schooling, but
Right.
I'm saying, like, we have to reprogram our mindset.
We agree with- I can agree with
so,
that.
yeah, I think in our culture, we are big on name brands. We're big. Our culture, like he said, how fast the dollar spends in our culture, like, it's crazy. That is the root of a lot of our issues in our community. We are so pressed on how other people see us instead of
View
really
us.
like digging deep on what is our true values. How are we going to collectively come together to build ourselves as a community? And it doesn't come across of what I'm wearing,
Right.
how other people are perceiving me. And I think that a lot of it is some conditioned, like, internalized racism that we've had, thinking we have to outperform, look the best, overachieve to be deemed
you know,
acceptable.
Successful.
I wanted to step back to what you were saying about having I just want to speak on that, having the NBA team come here, and to me is focusing on the fact of basically catering to a black middle class and black people that have a sense of wealth. The city has to focus on how to cater to those type of people. They're not used to that.
Exactly.
For some reason, all they want to do is the way they cater to black people. I'm just going to say this. I've seen some programs. They feel like they can get black people by saying everything is free.
I know.
That's insulting. Because we built kingdoms. We come from Africa, for goodness sakes. We created currency. And when they look at us, they don't even see money. And I think that we have to kind of, like you said, we have to start building communities where we have value, and we're seen as kings and queens. We need to be catered to. The school system needs to cater. Nothing caters to us. You know, so when you start putting,
That's what Gary
but
said.
could
So
you
how are you
honestly
gonna be able to if they don't love the reason why they doing all of that stuff because they don't love themselves, right? So you have to dig deep from generations, all of
gotta
that
get
mess
there.
for them to get there
Our
to
esteem in
figure
our
out
community
who
is
they
terrible.
are and why should I love my dark skinned self,
But the
Right.
thing is,
my dark skinned broke self.
but we not broke. All of us is not broke.
Broke
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Right.
Like I think
I
that
hate
we
that
have
word.
to.
I agree with
We gotta get to this thing where we have to look at this that we have some royalty in us.
But
You understand what I'm saying?
how many of us, honestly, I mean, think about it right now. How many of us have that? And I would. How many of us right now would boycott taking the bus, or boycott not going to a restaurant, or boycott I think we really have to kind of, all of us, and myself included, we all really have to take a look at our black dollars and how we choose to spend them. Yeah. And if you're going, yes, you
they
make.
should have did that during the riots.
Right.
During the Breonna Taylor, that's what they should have did. They should have boycotted transportation,
yes,
like they did in the South to start the civil rights movement.
Yes. But how many people are gonna get up right now and go walk to work instead of taking the bus? How many people really have that drive inside to feel like this is my community and I'm gonna go out and fight for it? And I get up, I go protest. No one mutes my mouth.
Or build community.
Think about it for a second. How many of us would stop up? How many of us, you see somebody getting up? How many of us would go boycott? The Korean store. No offense to my Korean brothers and sisters, but they're not putting anything back into your community.
So we got to start caring. We got to care.
Or to build community where we decide collectively that if you're going to stop riding the bus, I'm going to get a ride. There's somebody in the community that's going to get us there, because that was a big part of it, because I still have to have my job, although I'm taking a stand as well. One of the things, again, cultural lessons, is that I learned very early in life that it wasn't just the Chinese people making Chinese food.
Right.
So when I realized that some of them were Cambodian, I realized that some of them were Filipino. But the most important thing that we do is we just see black is just one color. So realize that some black people like to eat, some black people like to eat sushi and some don't. But you have to be in a place where you cater to those that do it and those that don't, so that if they like sushi, they feel comfortable going to a sushi place. I am still left, as much as I travel, even just outside of the city, still finding myself being comfortable in cities where I look around and I'm still not the only black person. Often I find myself in that place in Louisville, to where, again, I'm at Walmart and I look around and nobody looks like me. The same experience I can have in St. Louis at the post office, or I can have at Walmart. There's more people going to look like me. Doesn't mean they're just like me, but there's different black to say. And not that because it's upper class or middle class, it's just different blacks. They're just a different culture of black people that like different things. And in culture, we look that people are just not even in one group the same. In Louisville, it is streamlined that one group is the same and it's only one black. So again, I think about an personal experience last night. I decided that I was going to have some soul food because I am black and I do like soul food. So I take myself over to Shirley Mays and I think about this black experience. Well, here it is. And I'm not cutting down on any business because I go there and eat regularly. Every Sunday, I like a chicken and dressing from there. But to talk about the experience, this is what it looks like. It's not the experience I'm going to have at J. Alexander's and pay $5 more. Because in an hour and 20 minutes I spent waiting for food that I tried to order on the phone when the phone was off the hook and nobody answered.
Right.
From the time that I got there, knowing in my spirit that I wasn't really ready for it as much work as I had to do at home. But again, I run into one of my teachers there. So I'm on assignment. I'm like, okay, God, I recognize. So this hour and 20 minutes I'm waiting is not about me. So I'm going to remove myself and realize it's community interest. With that, I still will reflect upon the experience to know that there was 2 men there. We were all very upset because we're missing some of the games, and I'm still patronizing. I will not allow myself to just give back black and allow to be treated anything different. Because if your building has been here this long, there's some point, sadly, that it should look different. Yeah. Because again, I don't care where you came from, it's where you're going. So at some point, if all of these black dollars from black support have been down here supporting you, at least have a place that is A.
That's right.
That makes me feel like it's A.
But those that's been in business like that, they feel like they don't have to change because they've been doing business like this, and everybody
and the black folks still been coming,
dealing with it like how it is.
And who am I to think anything different or expect anything different? And it's not anything different that I came from St. Louis, and I know that because there's 5 black businesses that you could patronize selling the same thing, one of them have got to clean up their act, because it's going to be a group of black people, despite what they earn or what they don't earn, that's not going to come there because their mama kitchen don't look like that.
It's the same.
If your granny's kitchen was dirty, you could go some places where you're not going to go other places.
You ain't going in. It's over.
No, I don't either. I'm sorry. I don't have the patience. No. Absolutely not. My mother was a chef, so I have a certain level of what I expect when I sit down at a restaurant.
That's why I say it's a steam. We've got to step it up how we operate.
Yeah, I'm
community.
Remember about my food and my food's surroundings.
Remember when we used to go, at least on Sunday, to a family style dinner and talk about how community has changed to where when you leave church, it used to be 3 people that at least was cooking and invite you over, to where everybody, not just me with my non-cooking self, but everybody else was at Shirley Mays too, having the same experience. So here it is at about 8:00 last night. You have people outside waiting because of COVID for an hour and 20 minutes. Think about how that influences if the weather was different, because if it was raining, I don't go.
Right. And you said something about your experience of being on another side of the town compared to being on a black town. Mm-hmm. Like when you go to Walmart or Kroger, you know, if you go in a checkout line, the machine makes it tells you what you bought, right? Mm-hmm. And it's loud in the black areas. When you go into the white community and they're, you know, nicer Walmarts or Krogers, it's very low. You could barely hear. And I was like, what the hell?
And that's part of our experience. And again, you have to clue into things like that or you just don't know.
Well, just this weekend, even just being in Charlotte, going and taking a look at like hair stores, just kind of looking around and kind of having an idea of like what what everything looked like. And I remember walking in and just the experience of like just someone felt like they were like looking over my shoulder. Like, I'm a whole grown ass man. Like, what am I gonna steal a wig?
Hurry up and buy it.
Really? Exactly. Hurry up and buy. But like that whole detachment from like the overall experience is just completely taking me out. And so I'm just like, well, why don't we? My thing is like, if you can't beat them, join them. So why don't we just open up a better black restaurant?
Come on
and
with it.
Take it over.
There you go.
So to the guys that were talking about that said they
Free
were going
market.
to open a place on 28th Street. I hope I'm giving them a pub because I can't wait to go and see if the experience is different. And the only thing I just need is something to cut down on my time. If I'm going to get takeout, I need it to take about 20 minutes. If not, it gets into 30 minutes where I can sit down and eat and have a few refills.
Right.
You know? And it makes a heck of a difference in the experience. And I'm someone that likes to sit down and eat the experience.
I was just talking
let me cut you off right quick.
No worries.
But even with the other restaurants like the Indies, Chicken King, those lines are like, they're supposed to be fast food, but you waited a long daggone time to get your food.
But can we be fair though? I just think it's important that we have to look at it from both sides. Yes, you may have longer waits. You may not have the nicest building. But you have to also realize that black people are not operating with the same set of tools. They're not operating with the same. So
not all of us are like that. I'm sorry.
We're not all the same, but you have because I think it's some of us who are higher class elitists have to understand that people are working with where they're at. So I've seen plenty of black people who are very successful who think it should be like this, this, and this. What if that person just opened that business and they're operating with what they have?
Yes, but he's not talking about he's talking about pillars inside of the community.
These are places been open for like
15 years,
for example.
But still, even with that, you have to understand they're not starting at the same place as.
But if you've been in
Jay Alexander may have had. Hold on,
business.
let me express this. You're talking about investors. There's things that people who start businesses who do not look like us. So even 10 years plus, I mean, you guys are in business. You understand that that's still not the same as a person who is Caucasian 10 years in the same business.
Yes, but I do also
we can't just assume that it's going to look the same.
Sometimes this experience
I just want to make sure that that's said
but
because
conversely,
that's not fair.
So conversely, as a business owner, what I would say to that is that if I couldn't make up for it, if my people are waiting there for an extra hour and 20, I got to bring out a pan of cornbread or some rolls or something.
Absolutely.
So I'm improving my experience. I have to make up for that in some kind of way. But I think sometimes, I think specifically in Louisville, people always get denigrated and they always talk about, well, like people don't have money, people don't have this.
Yes, I'm tired of that.
There is a huge middle class, upper middle class in Louisville.
They just
tired.
Some of this
but we're saying
experience,
that, but the systems is not changing. Y'all saying we're tired, but we still have Mitch McConnell's been the senator in Kentucky for years. So we could say we're tired, but systems aren't changing.
Yes,
That's why we have to be more collective.
We're not
in how we
changing our own
approach
But
things.
to talk about systems,
more collective also where we spend our money.
Some of the things that I notice is this.
We are part of those systems.
Some of this we're victimized by experience. I'm going to tell you what it gets down to from just my thought. And again, it's no law. Is trust. Because you have someone over register that will not move. And it's someone amongst the group that's trusted. Now, what I'm talking about is experience. And I'm not going to say their name because I do not patronize them anymore. But what this looked like is when I would leave church, I would be hanging outside in the line to go point at a smorgasbord. When there's people that are going through the same smorgasbord and sitting down, why have you not invested in some waitresses to go around and ask the people what do they want to bring their order and collect their money so that the rest of us that are getting this food to go can swiftly get through a line? But what it comes down to, and I tell you, it was the same lady that was there all the time, is because of trust, because this family trusted her to collect the money, and I guess could not find trust in other employees.
And that's
where at that
another
point,
problem.
you have to take risks because you're going to take some losses to get some gain.
Exactly. I used to own a nightclub here about 10 years ago. And when we first came in, everyone told us we were crazy. Like, you don't know anybody in the city. You don't know this. You don't know that. And we're like, and, I definitely had to fire a few people and security.
Naturally.
But I remember specifically owning a nightclub here. And one of the most frustrating things we had was that shout out to all those on International Women's Day, but I just don't understand what goes on in the bathroom. My mirrors are broken every weekend. My doors are kicked in. My toilets are broken every weekend. Every weekend. So when it happened to me as a black business, we're the only black business right there on 4th and Broadway. And every weekend, people are fighting. And only thing that I'm waiting on now is just waiting to hear a shot, because as soon as someone gets shot, our liability insurance is lost. So it's all these other things that go in the background. Yes, my licenses will get revoked, so I can't sell liquor. And what ends up happening is as we're progressing through the year, I think we did it for about 2 or 3 years, but as we're progressing through, my security budget, it gets bigger and bigger to the point where I'm actually not even making anything as the owner of the company. Everyone else is getting paid because my security budget has ballooned so much because I have to deal with people fighting. And on top of that, I have to deal with the alcohol beverage control people that come in on like a Gorilla Zone night. Like, oh yeah, you had marijuana smoking. Like, there's 2,000 people in my club. Like, how am I supposed to be able to contract that? So there's all this other subliminal stuff that goes on in the background that holds you down from like being able to go. But what I made up for it is I work 7 days a week, and I fired the people that didn't work, that weren't working for me. And I just worked harder. I just worked harder. Sorry.
But to be fair, you have exceptionally above loads of skills that I interact with every day. Just being honest.
Sure.
As a therapist, I don't see people with your tool bag
Sure.
every day. I just think it's important that people who are in our positions, being able to speak the way we're speaking, being
Sure.
able to comprehend the way we're comprehending, understand that you guys are miles ahead of most of our community, unfortunately, and it's not because they don't want to do better, it's because they don't know better. And again, I say education.
I disagree strongly. I disagree strongly.
No, because y'all
I am not a victimization. I'm not a victim of my
it's not because they
circumstances.
just want to do bad. That's not fair. I will stand against
There are
everybody on the
resources
panel on
out
that
there.
one.
They Google
There are
everything.
resources.
They Google everything
Can I
else.
answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
I remember 99.9% of my clientele is black. Let's get that straight, okay? 99.9% of my clientele is black. Guess what they do? They come in, they want to start business. They want to start a nonprofit, a for-profit. They want to do business plans. So they got money. They got resources, okay? We might not have so much as the capital, but we can have some social capital.
Collective.
Okay, that money is there. Those resources are there, and they come from all walks. I have people that are coming off of their jobs, people that are entrepreneurs, young people I helped a young lady who was in high school start a nonprofit. You have people from all walks of life in this city that want to do things. We might not have the same tools, but we do have some tools. They just don't look like the traditional way that people. Now, this is the other thing. How black folk do business is not how white folk do business.
Right.
We got to get out of this way of how
That's
they
all
do business and their systems. We
different
can't
standards.
adopt their systems and say that we lack, because that systems has nothing to do. We're communal people. We approach business different.
Yes.
We have to look at things so totally different. Because when we start looking at things different, we'll see that we actually have a lot more than people say that we don't have.
And even as a barber,
Yes.
I want to ask you, you watch Generation and you watch people who, what they call arrived. Mm-hmm. I think that we get so caught up in arriving that once we get there, we come in a place that we just want to protect it, and we do not think
That's
about
very
our
sad. Well said.
surrounding. Because the thing is this, some of it's just
Well
afraid
said.
of loss. Again, we talked about NBA players that we know are multimillionaires, and I can't tell you how many of them find themselves in worse situations than we'll ever find ourselves in, based upon the fact that they never had any money and the shine was too rich.
Brother, what is that
See, the thing
called?
is,
It's like the black hole.
If you buy a house, again, back to taxes,
That's
if
true.
you buy you a multi-million-dollar house, you pay multi-million-dollar taxes on it, and if those multi-million-dollar income that you salaries that you had that don't come in, what happens to you if you haven't protected in a way that you've invested? So simply what I think that what we do is we're in a place that we again have to revisit what does it look like collectively to win,
But
instead of individually, because when we win, we do not
But
return.
you will have to agree, though, we do have the same resources
Yes.
as anyone else. Right?
I completely agree.
Any other?
Listen,
I do not agree.
If you take,
To be
let me
clear.
take
Thank
a
you.
step back. Let me take a step back and think about it from a different perspective. You have people right now that are about to get $1,400, $2,800 for their kid, for as a couple, plus an additional $1,500 for kids. Right?
And PPD is passed out.
Come on,
money.
exactly. So you have people this last year that were getting $600 a week on top of whatever they were doing sitting at the house. My thing is, if you didn't pay your bills off this year, if you didn't start a business, lose some weight, get in therapy, what were you doing with your
was
time
you
sitting
doing?
down?
And see, that's where I feel like
Buying.
you're talking from your privilege.
But
All y'all are speaking from privilege because it's called mental health is mental
Everything.
health. You talking about, you just mentioned all that stuff. If a person's depressed, they not thinking about combing their hair, brushing their teeth.
First
They
off,
not thinking about
but
paying
see-
their bills.
but see, there we go.
That's a real
But
thing. In our
that's
community, we're talking about trauma is multiple
But I think that-
years.
I think what you just
generational
went- I think
trauma.
what you just did
so
is I
what
think-
you're asking is people to operate off of tools again that's not in their bags. It's
Exactly,
not in their
exactly.
grandmama's
But here's the
bags, it's not in
thing.
their great
But here's
grandmama's
the thing. But
so
here,
how are people gonna do
because
something they don't
because
know
we
how to
always
do?
go back to victimization. But what we do have is we have our spirit. One second, we have our spirit, and that spirit is that person, is that little girl or that little boy that sits inside of you that goes to bed every night where you know you're supposed to not be drinking, you know you're not supposed to be smoking. Hold on, you know you're supposed to take your money and save it and do the things that you're supposed to do. So what I'm sick of is I'm sick of everybody telling me that I'm an MF and victim, that I'm supposed to be a victim of my circumstances. I am smart. I am intelligent, and so is everyone else in the United States of America has the ability to do anything. I don't care where you come from. I'm sorry. United States is the only place in the world where you and I can come up with an idea.
Yeah, the world don't
we
care
can
about
put,
excuses.
we can
It's
do,
not
we can,
about
we-
excuses.
it's the only
But
place
you're
in the
not-
world.
If that was the case, then why aren't black people succeeding in America?
Well, I think
then?
again, it's a mindset. It's a
Majority
growth
of the
mindset.
Mindset, because
It's a
black
growth
people
mindset.
are succeeding in America.
So this is the
we
thing,
are not
though.
succeeding where we
I
should
think-
be. You have to
Let's
own
go back
that.
to the recent
You
story
have
of
to own
Gorilla
that.
Glue. Did you talk about the glue lady on any of your segments?
Oh, that
Think
was
about the
wild.
doctor's story
On International
who
Women's Day, y'all.
made the chemical that finally released her from the bondage that she had going on.
Right.
It was an African doctor, an African who came here with nothing and made something. See, one of the things that I do know, again, as a coaching experience, is that, again, the kids that are outperforming our kids often don't have the Jordans and the things that our kids have and that we buy into because their parents don't understand a dollar because their experience of where they came from a lot. Mexico is funded from America. It's Mexicans who have came here, worked, and send their money back to their country.
But there's so many other layers beyond.
There are.
That's limited. So you're not.
There are.
Come on, you're talking about black families are ran by what? Black women. Black women are the most unprotected people in the world, not just
correct.
America. So they're not operating with what a Mexican woman will be operating. They're not operating with what you got. Immigrants could come in. Cubans come here today and are treated better than a black woman, and her family been here 500 plus years.
Yeah, but that
so
isn't
you
that
can't
also the-
tell me that
but
they're
isn't that
struggling.
also
Hold
the
on, you cannot tell me that a Cuban woman who's very pale skinned who came here and can get 10 ample plus opportunities than I can as a black woman, and I've been here years.
But
that
what
we
type
are the
of-
same.
what type of
As- as
opportunities-
black
because
sir,
the
and you
Cuban
guys are speaking from
opportunities
your
are-
black male privilege,
one
and
of
I'm
the-
gonna call you out on it
One of the
because
things,
there,
though-
I think no, because and I'm speaking again. I'm speaking from me as a black
Speak
woman.
your truth.
You are not gonna tell me that we all come from. We have the because what I just heard is we all have the same resources, and we're talking in
I-
room.
you know,
What I'm
black
saying,
people.
what I'm saying is that what I meant
Why
by
don't
that
we
is
have the
that
same
what I'm
resources?
saying is that there are certain things
You
that
don't know what your exact words
what I'm
was.
saying is
I think we all have the exact resources.
I said, why don't we have the same resources?
There are certain things that afford you as a United States citizen. I'm sorry.
I mean,
gotta take a
what-
step
what
back on
resources
that.
are-
United
what
States
resources are you being denied of?
because everybody here who's benefiting from our ancestors who have slaved, who've been beaten,
Right.
abused,
Yes.
and mistreated,
Right.
Yes.
and you have the privilege to sit there. So to just say that we just not taking advantage of our opportunities, that
Well,
is
one of the things
No,
that
I
I think
didn't
about
know.
is
I
that's
simply
didn't-
is this,
how it
though.
comes across. It
That's
comes
not
across
what
very
we're
tongue
talking
as
about.
if it's that simple.
We started
and
talking
it's
about a
not.
particular
No, I didn't say it
restaurant.
like that. I
Further
didn't-
away-
We started talking
maybe
about
farther
this
than we
gentleman's
are.
restaurant
Experience.
His experience at a restaurant. We talked about a line. We talked about a service that them people not coming out, having this man stand in line for an hour, 20 minutes. He talked
We don't
about
have to,
how
definitely.
the restaurant did not look like it should look if it's been there for
And
20
you said
years.
you wouldn't
and
even-
the
you
lady,
don't go to those type of
I damn
restaurants.
sure would not go up
You
in
gotta
there.
ask yourself
I
why
sure
you
would
have
not.
that type
And
of
all of that
mentality,
has nothing to do with no
understanding what we
mental
experience.
health.
Restaurant is
Why-
named
why-
lady.
why-
If she
why
can't
should
run a
he?
bit, why should I
Why
go
should he
someplace?
go?
Let's
Why
talk
should
about
I
I'm
go?
gonna tell you why, because you
Why
know
should I
that we
go to
have
somewhere
go-
that don't look right?
You know how hard it is for us to
Again.
No, she need to get her stuff together. Why would I go somewhere that don't look right?
This is the thing, though.
I'm gonna say something to shop people. If I go to a stop
love
sign
it.
and there's a Caucasian man homeless begging for money versus an African American man asking for money, I'm more inclined to give my money to the African American meal, and I'll tell you why. That white gentleman could clean himself up today. Same experience.
What does it have to do with this restaurant experience that this man is talking about?
Same exact situation.
How do we get to that?
I'm gonna give it to you. Same exact situation. same exact affect. Same exact presentation. He can clean himself up, walk in that job, and get that job that day. That African American man can do the exact same thing, and he will not be given the benefit of the doubt. And you have to ask yourself, why is that happening? Meghan Markle.
I believe that I am a black African American man. Listen to me.
There's a
listen to me.
layer. She has a layer.
Stop. I've been to the penitentiary 4 times. Listen to me. 36-year sentence. I have gotten out of penitentiary, bought myself a home, bought myself a business, bought myself a building. No one has given me anything. I did it by myself.
Yes.
I am living proof that you can come from the dirt. That you can come from the dirt and be whatever. Listen to me. Let me finish my statement. You can come from the dirt and be whatever you want to be, sweetheart. Yes, you can. I've done it. You looking at somebody that's done it, baby. Yes, you can.
Because everybody don't have the same IQ. Everybody don't have the same 2 hands. Everybody don't know.
I just gave it to you as real as you can get it.
No,
I just gave it to you.
Let me say
But if
something.
you
Let me
think
say-
that we
let me
all
say
operate
something.
from the same playing field, then
We didn't say that.
We didn't say that, Jeffrey.
We didn't say that.
Operating by the same playing
I come from the mud, sweetheart. The mud. You understand me?
Come from the exact
The
same
mud.
home, exact same
Now,
experiences,
I've
and they
got-
all present differently. Ask yourself why, if they all were getting
I'm not
the
giving
exact
nobody
same-
any excuse.
This is-
I come from
What
the
you
mud.
said.
And I'm thinking
There
you,
is-
I think that
there
you're giving
is-
them too
I
many
think that there's a
excuses.
layer.
Like everybody, everything that some are, oh, they depressed. Y'all making everybody depressed by telling them that, oh, because I don't want to get up in the bed, out of my bed, I'm depressed. No, you got to get up.
There's a layer,
All
though.
of
I
us
think
get
Get up.
depressed.
We have to-
You
we-
gotta
get
get
up.
up.
with
We
the
have
black
to be
community.
open.
Get up.
That
We
is
have to
the
be
problem
open.
with the black community.
No,
We have
I'm
to-
We
saying
have that
like
mindset.
No, I think the
Like if
victimization
you want to start a
problem is the
business,
mindset.
I
or
think-
you don't have the idea to start a business, and you say, okay, I want to do something differently, and you telling yourself that you want to do something differently, those people around you that you need to do something differently are going to come around.
Yes.
So, but one
But
of
if
the
you're
things,
staying in your little one area
And give them a pass for that?
just bitching and complaining and
No.
not doing anything, you're not going
when
to
she's
get
talking
no
about
place.
trauma, I
That's
think
what he
we-
was
I
saying.
think-
They don't think it's
I think-
okay.
I think there's a sense of
We
trauma.
make too many excuses for people to not do what they're
Get up.
supposed to do.
respectfully
So,
disagree with y'all.
again,
Nope.
I think it's a growth mindset is
I don't-
because again,
Respectfully
you have to
disagree.
realize.
So I don't think it's that we necessarily disagree with you. I think that what we're
No,
saying.
I respectfully disagree with you.
That's
all.
fine.
I
That's
just wanna
fine.
be very
So-
clear.
But I
I
think for
remember-
me is I work in IT. Okay, so you can't tell me being a black kid starting an IT company in Belgrade, Serbia.
Yeah.
If you
With
think
this.
that you don't have
But-
privilege as a black man compared to me as a black woman,
I wasn't.
then-
But
Who's
I was just
doing
telling you
that
my
comparison?
story.
That's what I said.
But
How
I was
did
just
that get
giving
in there,
you. But
though?
I was just
Some
giving
of
you
that.
my
When are you
story. I
coming up
didn't
with
say
this?
that.
No,
I didn't
no,
say
no.
that.
I think
That never came
I was
out
just
his
telling you my
mouth.
story.
Yes,
I didn't
no
say
one's
that at
mouth.
all.
Let's talk about the trauma part because I think
Thank
that
you.
there is a layer,
Thank
and
you.
I think and what that is again that experience that some people have over others. I could talk about my own
Yes, of course.
learning experience. So I went to this school. There was African American teachers. They lifted me up and made me feel like I could do anything. And then I remember going to an environment where I was set in the back of the classroom, far away as I can from the teacher, her desk, and her purse, because again, perception of African Americans. So there is some trauma pieces
Yes.
that will lead us to
Yes.
why, if you go to McDonald's in a lot of places now, there are largely in Louisville, Hispanics running McDonald's. It does get to a piece of trauma that may impact work ethic. Because again, if I do not think it's possible, what am I working towards if I don't have a growth mindset and anything to work towards? So it's a culture of people that will
Yeah,
look
but
at
is that-
McDonald's like it's not good enough.
Yeah, but is that only just black people that
Well,
have
I'm
that?
saying
No.
American
You know, poor white
experience.
people have the same problem.
Well, again, the people will think that the only thing worse in America than black people is poor white people. So again, we can't even. I can't even
Native
bring
Americans.
poor white people.
Right, what you said. Native Americans, yes.
They get treated worse
Yes.
than black folks.
And we're not talking about treatment. We're just talking about thought.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
again, they're protected.
Yes.
They're respected on reservations versus black people who do not have an option to form these reservations and get laws and things enacted that protect us like they do on a reservation.
So
what I'm saying is this: if as a white person, and again, I know as in terms of school,
Right.
I'm going to do more work on how a white teacher will treat someone that she considers to be from the trailer court, trailer park, or whatever you call it in these parts, versus how she's going to treat a black kid. Because what she doesn't understand about this white family is how did they end up like that with all the opportunity versus the poor black boy
on
didn't
now.
even have a chance anyway.
Yes.
So what comes to that, again, it's some pieces on work ethic.
Yes.
Because again, I'm only going to present you with what I think is possible and hand you these things. So I am really amazed at how I have a Hispanic family I'm very close to. Her experience was at Griff's. While working at Griff's, she began to notice how sadly cultured that most of the African Americans there
Right.
were. She's very thankful that she has been able to come to America and secure a job that pays $10 an hour because that's a lot of money to them.
Yes.
You know, this is the same family that a man writes $5,000 check in cash to send his kid off to DC for an institute for 2 weeks in the summer. Versus again, you talk about opportunity. They save this money up because all the Jordan money and all the high flying money and the iPhone money
this
and
is
all
what I was
those
talking
things.
about,
He
the
did
whole
not spend
extra.
the money on those things. He saved it to, again, sadly, you got some issues there though, because while he would send his son to a camp, he wouldn't send his daughter to a $5,000
Yeah, but also
camp.
you
again,
don't have a bunch of Asian people and selling Nikes back to his kid. So I mean, it's not the same. I'm not saying that I don't disagree
again,
with you,
but the
but
trauma
I think
layer,
the challenge for a lot of us,
trauma.
I think the challenge for a lot of us, especially people that are self-made,
perception.
is it's this idea that I am a victim of my circumstances. No, I took those circumstances and I made something out of it.
I want to be
That's
very
what
clear.
we
I'm not
did
saying a
before.
victim,
I
but
know
I
you
just
weren't.
feel there's a lack of compassion and understanding.
Oh, no, that's not.
For
No,
people
no,
who've
no,
not-
no.
For people who have not been able to do what you've done.
Yes, but
With the
everyone
same-
assumes.
with the
But
same
everyone
opportunity.
assumes.
No,
Everyone
don't
assumes
think
that you
We've
wait.
been in the same. I've been in the same predicament as all
Exactly.
of them. My mom had me at 18. She decided that she was going to go to college. She took us with her to college. She saved her money that she made over the summer, and she saved it for the months that she was in college for. We had generic shoes. We was teased in school. And you know what my mom said? She said, if they tell you anything, she said, because we was in a grocery store. We had just came from one of those cheap stores. And they said, they was teasing me and my brother. She said, don't let nobody tease you. Tell them you so ugly. That's why your mom should have aborted you or something. Tell them something so they can
Stand up.
Yeah. You can't. We have to stand
But
up
see,
and
you had
stop.
but do you see your privilege? Do you recognize your
What's
privilege?
the-
You
what
can't
is
call
that?
that
Because you had a
privilege.
mom?
You had a mom.
What's
Yes,
that
she had a
privilege?
mom that was able
so
to
now
take
we're all
care of
victims now because we
because
don't
I
have
had a
moms.
I
mom
need you guys to realize.
What is that?
I feel that's
It's a
what
lens.
you
How are you defining privilege?
It's a lens. You got to explore
I'm
the
a therapist,
lens.
so my lenses is different than y'all's, and
You gotta
that's
explore the
okay.
lens.
I'm not gonna
Okay.
knock y'all for y'all.
Yes, but
I'm
that's not-
strong
but
with
most
mine.
of us
But
aren't
let me
like
hear
that.
me out.
Most of us aren't
Yes, we are.
destitute.
In our community, we love to say, "I did it, so you should too."
That's not what I was
We
saying.
love to do that.
No,
in
it's
our
not what I
community.
said.
We want to be your example and show you that you can do
Use the
this
same-
too.
there are
But
certain-
when we came here, my son goes to Dawes High School. They on an AAU team. They bucket shake to get their money to go to the different tournaments and stuff. I was with these boys who stole everything they had on. And I was trying to show them, you don't have to do this. You can do such and such. But we cannot give them the excuse and tell them because you was this here, you have to do this here.
I'm not
We
saying
have to
excuse, but
show
compassion.
them.
We don't have compassion for our own
Miss,
selves.
I have so
No,
much
we have
compassion.
compassion.
No,
We-
our community does not. We have
That's
terrible
not true.
self-esteem.
There's been a
Again,
time
as black people, we
where
have
I don't claim that.
self-esteem.
It's
How we-
different.
I don't
claim
claim
I was
it,
in a
but I'm telling you what I've
situation-
experienced as a black
Simicola, when I-
therapist.
where a
We
real
are- we
life
have a-
example is a kid that was teasing a kid because he didn't have anything. I personally had given that parent whose kid was teasing someone $50 to keep their lights on
Right.
under the table
Right.
2 weeks before.
Right.
And what really pissed me off the most is that the same kid who was teasing someone else didn't really realize what was the most important thing. Because while you were being teased about those buddies, your mom had some money somewhere, I bet, that she could have spent more money buying things, but she was smarter. So it's something that we do not teach our kids again very early is, who are you to tease someone about their shoes? And how important are those shoes?
Because our generation is black. America is, we are black African Americans. And you said you're from the Caribbean, correct? Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, but you're talking about a mindset. I'm telling you, black people,
we just as bad as American Americans.
You talking about Jordan, so I'm not surprised. When you're talking about giving back in the community, sending back home. That's not something that African Americans keep at the forefront. We talking about going and buying Jordans, not making sure grandmama house is paid, lights.
Yeah,
so
that's
what I'm saying. You can't expect. You got to meet people where they're at.
But yes. I'm not saying that I don't necessarily disagree with that. But for example, I met Mark. Mark, we met in July last year. Mm-hmm. Now, our business relationship, where we started from to where we are now, if you had just went based on the old way of doing things, we wouldn't be where we are right now. There's no way. There's no way. So what he had to do was just try to trust, but verify. And we actually ended up building out a deeper business relationship. And the only thing that we've been doing is just getting to know each other and realizing that there's a lot that we can all come together and make a pretty decent conglomerate. I can't do that by myself. Mark can't do that by himself. Janae, she can't do that by herself. But it took all of us to come to each other. And all of us come from nothing, but all of us have work ethics. That's something about all of us that are working. We all got a work ethic. So you don't have to know everything. You just have to be smart enough to bring the people over that can help you build. That's why I go to high schools and I talk to kids all the time. So I'm out there doing my part too. I go talk to kids about listen, rapping is cool. Basketball is cool. But if you can code, coding doesn't care what race or creed you are. Can you do the job?
It's giving them a skill.
It's a skill set that you can take with you on anything. You can go right now. You can go to coding school. You do not need a 4-year or a 2-year degree. You can go to coding school right now, 9 months, and be finished. And your starting salary in Cincinnati is $94,000. Your starting salary here in Louisville is $74,000. Your starting salary in Atlanta is $108,000. That school costs $3,000 for you to go. 9-month program. That's available right now.
I tell people all the time, my cousin and them are chasing storms. So these are people that do not have college degrees that are making 6 figures. And the only thing they had to do was read, get a certificate, and be willing to relocate after a storm.
Yes.
As soon as a storm hit, they're going to get that money.
Yes.
The thing is this, though. We have to share that information. So what I take pride in is that my cousin has called from Atlanta to Detroit to tell her other cousins who are graduating, if you're not going to college, this is something you might want to consider while you're working on another plan. Because at the end, you have to secure money to live. And what we have to do as a community is give access to that and lead way to that. At some point, we do need to open businesses so we can employ people to make.
The first thing I do every morning after I get up, use the restroom. First thing I do is turn on my motivational speaker. Mm-hmm. This is what I do every single morning. Listen to my motivational speaking as I work out. Get dressed. I'm listening to my motivational speaker all in the shower, all the way in the car, all the way to work.
You're doing the same thing.
All my motivational speakers telling me is you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Yes.
By the time I get here, man, I'm so pumped. I could run through a brick wall. There's nothing, no one can tell me that I can't do
and
something.
Part of that is reteaching, turning off the TV that sends bad vibes to us. Again, I have to go to where, when I used to watch the news in the morning, I cannot do that anymore because I turn on the news and there's a 6-year-old girl killed in the car with her father and a 13-year-old girl killed in the same week. How do we process that? Think about that as a school perspective when we do want to open schools, is that our babies are getting killed in hours that they really could be in school. So how we lose, again, back to that trauma, what does that message send to other kids when they know that a classmate that looked like them was killed?
They don't matter. They feel like they don't matter.
And they identify that and they think they don't matter. And then there's a story still brewing in Louisville, in Kentucky, where some police officers ran through these people's house, shot them, and then went other places before they reported back to duty. See, the thing about Breonna Taylor's story that rings out to me is that there was officers involved in the shooting that weren't accounted for hours after the shooting. back to privilege. Again, our kids are seeing this. So she's talking about that layer of trauma.
Yes.
When you think you don't matter, how do you aspire to be in the midst of that? That's the challenge.
Especially when you have parents who also tell you don't matter. I deal with kids every day the fact that you put on motivational music, that's so beautiful. But what about the people who don't care or don't think they matter? So they're not even caring to motivate themselves.
Yeah, but don't you feel like it's almost like part of like being a police officer? Don't you feel like you
the
kind of
kids
see like the
understand.
what I
They
mean by
don't
that is
know.
like
But that's
you see the
what the
don't you
adults
feel like
is
you
what I'm
see kind of
talking
like I don't want to say the worst of us, but you see the people that are the most troubled. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So if
about-
you're working with the people that are the most troubled, because that's what your ministry is, that's what your vocation is, right? But I feel like what happens is that you paint it. It's like my friends whose parents are cops. They just don't trust anybody. Like it's just how they go. Like and their kids there's like, don't worry, my dad's a cop. Like he's gonna come in and ask you a bunch of questions. Like our military parents. So there's something that comes. So I understand your perspective because based on the people that you work with, what I'm saying is based on my perspective here in Louisville and based on my professional friends and the stuff that we're doing, it's not even just the privilege. We just all came together. Like, I think we have an idea. We might be onto something. Let's build something together.
Think about a lens to where I ride a bus from my community. I pass the abandoned houses, I pass the trash, and I pass all these things. And then things begin to glow as I travel out of my community to where there's big houses, clean streets, sidewalks, fancy cars. I'm put into school beyond that to have this experience like them. But at the end of the day, through a lens, I'm put back into that bus, driven out of that neighborhood and back to the filth often of my community.
Yes.
And I'm supposed to think that I too sing America. I'm supposed to think that one day
is
things will be
possible.
different. Unless there's people on the other side. Again, one of the things about community is this. You can't bring everybody's kid to live into your neighborhood, but you can have a birthday party out there and invite some kids and they see it's a difference. And then what they identify with is, well, he lives here, so I can too. Until you open it up and changing those lenses, our kids do not get it because there's so
That's
many
it.
things that they see that's beyond the scope of what we're
Yes.
telling them.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, when you're dealing with children, definitely.
But children turn into adults.
Yeah, children turn
and then
into
adults
adults.
are often children who haven't healed.
But adults, I can't give
That's all
adults a
I'm saying.
pass. If you're mentally healthy, I mean, outside of mentally healthy, when you throw that issue in there, okay. But if you're, because we started off not talking about a mentally ill woman, we were talking about a restaurant.
Right.
That, you know what I'm saying? So
There's some
I'm
pieces
still
to me
going
gotta be
off the
something not
basis
right
of
there.
that
That's
first,
what I'm
off
saying.
that first
Because they
example.
can't see beyond. The thing
You know
is
what I'm
this:
saying?
I can't imagine on the
I
restaurant.
think we
for 10
understood
years
what you were
and now
saying.
you can have
And we
some-
weren't
Everything
disagreeing.
And for me,
with how people see their world.
because I know the restaurant you're talking about, and we ain't gonna keep on
I
talking
know
about the
what
restaurant out loud. But I know the restaurant you're
Yeah.
talking about, and I know the restaurant used to have roaches and everything in it. And to me, there's just no excuse for that.
Right.
If you're gonna have a place of business, then
You gotta have
that place of
standards.
business and it's food, then I don't need to be seeing all that, because if I do, then I'm not coming back. And if I even heard about that, I'm not going in there in the first place. And I don't think I'm wrong for feeling that.
You don't have to move
way.
out of the neighborhood too. At some point, you can actually start over where you are. So you have an opportunity to take this, what you have here, tear it down.
I'm not going to a restaurant that
build it
got a
back
B
up.
on the door. I mean, I need
What you said.
I don't, it could be you had the tomato paste 3 inches too low
I
to
don't
the
care.
floor. I don't care. I don't know what
No,
it
a B
I mean,
is
what
deeper than that.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
a B
sorry.
is deeper than that. Nah,
Yeah.
a B is deeper than that.
I would just say mental health, like people don't realize this, but if you see a person not cleaning their house, that's an indication usually of mental health.
Yes.
And that's the thing where, and I know it's that like you just thinking, well, that's a grown person just not being responsible.
Something wrong.
That's something
But you know what's
wrong,
crazy
we
about
just
but
dismiss
but
that.
you know
yeah,
what's
I would
right.
have thought
That's
that.
all I'm saying.
But right
I'd
now,
thought
for
that.
example, all the
I
people
would've
that,
thought
for
that. I
example,
just think
Kentucky
that.
gives
I think
everybody
hoarders have
Medicaid
something
right
wrong.
now,
No,
right?
Something
you think
mentally
people
The
wrong.
people
just
that,
won't be
if you're
done?
self-employed,
No,
because
that's
of
mental
COVID, you get Medicaid for the year.
But
That
what-
covers your mental health.
So you saying it's no such thing?
Your
as
mental health is
lazy
the.
man?
Now I know
They
not
got
everybody
lazy
has the tools, and
But do
like you
people
can get to
tap?
that
Do
point.
people actually tap into that?
I think now, so my
available.
therapist is next door. They're black owned and operated. So I've been talking to everybody about it. Like, dude, you have to have insurance. Like, go to therapy. It's like and just have it in your
So
your
that's half
routine.
of
It's like a
America.
mental check-in. Go
More
see a
than
doctor
half
that
of
can
America.
You go to
We
the
are what
doctor
we
for
eat.
everything else.
That's
Your
all I'm
teeth.
saying.
But you
change
were
your
saying
perspective.
something
My
else
best friend
too.
when I was in rehab.
Hold on.
because I ain't
Yeah.
really realized it.
Yeah, you need to repeat that.
What? I'm sorry. You said.
What are healthy people? Or,
Oh, what are healthy people?
I said healthy people are people who are working out. Healthy people are people who are taking care of their bodies. Healthy people are people who are cleaning up. Healthy people are working on communication, relationship building, interacting with other people. When you see people are not cleaning, that's the sign of mental health. When you see people just eating fast food all day, that's a sign of mental health. Healthy people care. Healthy people are caring about their communities. We just dismiss everything as laziness. We dismiss everything as a poor attitude. I always say when a person is super mean, when a person is not caring about their grooming, when a person is not caring about their community, that's a sick person. But we don't see that because we don't operate in that type of lens. We just think, we just naturally judge people. But that's a person that's hurting, and I have compassion for that. And I try not to judge, because when I'm sitting with these people, other people think they dirty, they don't care about themselves, they don't want to work. But when you sit with this person, they don't value themselves, like he said. They don't believe that other people care about them. And when a person don't think that they're valued, they don't want to do nothing.
But I think my frustration with that is that you assume that we've just always been like this all the time.
No, I don't. But what I was hearing is the assumption that other people
That word
are where
privilege
y'all are
kinda
at.
threw me off a bit.
The privilege part threw me off. I'm like,
Privilege
dude,
kinda
I know
threw me
you
off
from
a
Chatham.
bit.
I'm from South Carolina. Okay. Like, I mean, it
But
doesn't.
I just
get.
don't want you. I just think it's important because you just assume that person's just lazy.
No, I never assumed that, and I never said that.
Well, that's
no,
what I gathered.
I think the
And I just-
frustration.
Like people that I see on the street, like I don't judge them. Like the people that's holding the signs and stuff. I mean, it's not like when I drive by, I don't be like, "There's another guy.
Get
He
a
need to
job."
get a
Yeah,
job."
yeah.
How come he ain't working? Because I've had people, like I used to have a guy that cleaned up, okay, and this guy was the best cleaner upper around the shop that you ever wanted to. I mean,
see
every
strength.
cigarette butt out there in that parking lot, he would pick it up with his hand, okay, every cigarette butt. But I could see, I'm like, how can a guy that worked this hard not keep a regular job? But he can't keep a regular job because he has ADHD, he has attention deficit disorder. He's not really that socially advanced as far as talking to
Communication
people and
skills
stuff. His communication skills are bad. And he takes people the wrong way a lot, or they take him the wrong way. There's some type of clash at the end all the time. And it doesn't really be his fault or their fault. It just be like, they don't understand him because he moves real fast. Like, so I can understand how he would have a problem in an enclosed area or under somebody's supervision trying to work. But if I just tell him, man, clean up the shop, he's just, he's.
Yeah.
So I understand.
You see his strengths in that.
Yeah, I
So
definitely
where
see
he
his
did
strengths,
lack,
right.
He had some things he did excellent.
Yes, but I think sometimes I think it's been. I now that I'm a bit older, I also understand my ability, my privilege of the way that I speak, and the diction and the way that I'm able to carry myself, and how how I'm able to move in circles that most people can't. Like they just can't. But that also comes from my parents.
That's what I'm saying. That's your privilege.
Sorry, it doesn't come from privilege.
No,
it comes.
that's your
It comes
privilege
from
that you can do
it's
that.
it's not my privilege. I worked on it. Like
Okay.
my parents
I think I
educated
understand
me.
what she's saying about privilege.
I think
now.
I understand
so
it,
the
but-
privilege that he was able to get educated, the privilege that he was able to go these other places to get to see.
The privilege that you're just as eloquent as you are. The way that
Yes.
your natural
But that's how
I
we
hear you
got
say
that way by.
parents.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
we talk about that perspective.
Yes. Yes, that part of it, I very much get. So I didn't want you to think that I'm like just from this ivory tower pointing down. And if people just got up and like they got up at 4 a.m. and like meditated or did coffee colonics, and they would just all
You
of a sudden
sound
get
kind
up,
of bougie
get on
when you
there.
talk about England and shit.
I know. But you know, the
Hey.
strangest thing about that is now, 10 years later, sure, I can talk about jumping in and out of Paris. But when I first got there, I didn't speak French. Like, I didn't know. I just kind of threw myself into it. So I think sometimes you see it now, 10 years later, sure. But if you went back when I was first there, like I didn't know nothing. I just threw myself into it because I wanted to go do something different.
Did the social worker lady do some judging?
Social worker lady.
I'm just saying, I speak
But
for the
I
people.
get it quite often. I get it quite often, and then all of a sudden, my
Okay.
black experience isn't black enough to be based on my diction.
No,
Like,
and I definitely can't. I definitely will never say that.
No, I know, but I'm just talking about it. I get it. I get it a lot, and sometimes people like Janae, y'all know how hard I work. Okay, y'all normally I'm sleep right now. Like I'm a 4 a.m. I get up at 4
Everybody know
a.m.
you're not bougie.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, I think we can't minimize our strengths. Like,
Right.
so the strength in
I can
having
agree with that.
simple things as parents. When I heard you say your mother told you that, I've seen parents that tell their kids everything that they shouldn't say.
Right.
So your mother encouraged you when she was being bullied. What about the kid who wasn't encouraged when they was bullied? Who mama told them that the bully was right?
Right. So
you
we're
gotta-
saying
that's your
all of
privilege.
this. No, we're saying that a high percentage of America is unhealthy.
Yes.
So how can we do something. How can we?
What should we be doing, I guess?
As black people?
Besides empathy,
What
I
should
mean,
we, yeah, I guess.
Empathy is my biggest.
How the hell
we
we
lack
can
empathy
fix
for each other?
That's a whole lot.
I don't think we have empathy for each other. We are hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we
First
are.
and foremost, we're hard on ourselves as a community, and we are definitely hard on each other. And I think that's really
Because we expect, so let me give you an example. It's like, for example, when let's just say some famous person died, right? And when they get up and the piano starts playing, what you expect as black folks, you better bring your whole
You
soul.
see what I'm saying?
But you know why? Because we excel at everything that we do. Music, finance, arts, IT. Come on now.
Yes.
And there's a certain part of that comes like, if I'm the only black person in a room, I take it with a badge of honor. This is on my ancestors. Yeah. Man, F that. I don't need to be in a room with a lot of people that don't look like me. You should see the crown when I walk in the room. Bend the knee. I don't have a problem moving in the circles that I move in. I don't have a problem with it at all. I can be the only black person. I'm quite used to it, jumping in and out of countries. Like, it don't make
But that's
me
why you're
move me.
successful.
So
Right, but I don't want us to like just make an excuse because of these have people like this. We still have to be able to. We Google every goddamn thing else. Okay, when is the next pair of shoe coming out?
Right.
Why we can't Google? Okay, how you
get
start
that
a
loan,
business?
How you start this?
Right.
YouTube's
YouTube.
very informative.
How you
I heard the
We
excuses,
just
but
have to.
we
We
gotta
gotta do more. We can't just.
We
say,
haven't healed first, though.
But listen,
we
the
have
only
not
way
healed.
we're gonna heal if we start doing
We
something.
gotta face
So-
it, though. We
hold on
don't. We
real
just
quick,
want to
hold on real
pretend it's
quick,
not
y'all.
there.
Hold on real quick, y'all. My producers in my ear. That's a cut.
Okay.